In 2022, Western governments seized over $2 billion worth of superyachts from Russian oligarchs. Armed police boarded vessels in foreign ports. Crews were detained. One yacht was frozen mid-refit in a German shipyard. And every yacht owner in the world watched it happen and asked the same question, not, is this legal? The question was, can they do this to mine? Because at a certain level, a superyacht isn't a boat. It's a sovereign asset floating in international water. And when governments started seizing them, the entire industry realized how thin the line between luxury and liability actually is. That's the world we're breaking down today. From the smallest vessels that qualify as superyachts to the ones that operate like private naval fleets. And before I start, I know. Someone's going to say, they're not superyachts, they're mega yachts. Someone else is going to argue about where the cutoff is. Save it. We're here for the architecture, not the taxonomy. Let's get into it. Level 1. The entry point. 24 to 30 meters. This is where the word super yacht technically begins, and where most owners quickly realize they've underestimated every cost involved. A new build at this size runs $5 to $15 million depending on builder and specification. Brands like Sunseeker, Princess, and Azimuth dominate here. Running costs land between $500,000 and $1 million per year. Crew of 4 to 6, captain, engineer, a deckhand or two, and a stewardess. Before you've left the marina, you're paying 6 salaries, insurance, docking fees, fuel, and maintenance on a vessel that depreciates faster than almost anything else you can buy. Here's what most first-time buyers don't understand. The purchase price is roughly 10% of the total cost of ownership over a decade. A $10 million yacht costs $10 million to buy, and another $10 million to operate over 10 years. The boat you thought cost $10 million actually costs $20 million, and that math only gets worse as you move up. Who buys this? The tech founder who just had his first real exit. Not the $500 million exit, the $15 million exit. He's been watching yacht videos on YouTube for 3 years, and his wife finally said fine. He buys the boat. 6 months later, the marina sends him a docking invoice that looks like a mortgage payment. A year later, he realizes he used the yacht 11 days. 11 days. At the total annual cost, that's roughly $80,000 per day on the water. He starts Googling how to sell a yacht quickly at 1 a.m. The marina is full of level 1 yachts with for sale signs. There's a reason for that. The 2 happiest days of a yacht owner's life aren't a joke at this level. They're a financial reality. Smart move if you're curious about this world. Charter first. A week on a 28-meter yacht in Croatia costs $50,000 to $80,000. That sounds expensive until you compare it to $10 million in purchase price and a decade of running costs to find out you only use the boat 3 weeks a year. Level 2. 30 to 50 meters. This is where superyacht ownership starts to feel intentional rather than aspirational. New build pricing runs $15 to $40 million. Builders like Benetti, Heeson, Feedship's smaller range, and San Lorenzo, crew of 7 to 12, running costs climb to $1.5 to $3 million per year. At this size, the yacht stops being a large boat and starts becoming a platform for how you want to live on the water. A proper tender garage for smaller boats and water toys, a jacuzzi on the sun deck, multiple guest cabins with ensuite bathrooms, a chef producing restaurant-quality meals from a real galley, a beach club at water level where you step off the stern directly into the sea. The difference between level 1 and level 2 is the difference between hosting dinner and hosting a life. At level 1, you invite 2 couples for an afternoon. At level 2, you invite 8 people for 5 days and nobody feels crowded. Everyone has privacy. Everyone has space. The yacht starts to feel less like something you use and more like somewhere you belong. Who's here? The family office patriarch who bought the yacht the year after he stepped down as CEO. He charters it 14 weeks a year through a management company that handles everything. Uses it personally for 5 weeks. His accountant hates the yacht slightly less than the level 1 accountant, because at least the charter income covers 1/3 of the operating costs. His wife has a favorite marina in Sardinia. The captain knows her coffee order. The stewardess knows which cabin each grandchild prefers. This is where the yacht becomes part of the family infrastructure, not just an asset on the balance sheet. This is where the charter market becomes serious. A 40-meter yacht charters for $150,000 to $300,000 per week in the Mediterranean during peak season. Some owners structure the yacht as a business, chartering 12 to 16 weeks per year and using it personally for 4 to 6. The economics aren't perfect, but they're manageable. And manageable is the difference between keeping the yacht and selling it at level 1. Level 3, 50 to 70 meters. This is where the yacht becomes the destination. New build pricing runs $40 to $100 million. Builders like Feedship, Lursen, Ocean Co., and Amels, crew of 14 to 22, running costs of $3 to $7 million per year. At this size, the interior is no longer a boat interior. It's architecture, full-beam master suites stretching the entire width of the hull, formal dining rooms seating 12, lounges that open onto private decks, cinemas, beach clubs at waterline level with fold-out platforms that turn the stern into a private pool deck over the ocean. Multiple exterior decks, each designed for a different function. Sunbathing on one, dining on another, a quiet reading area on a third. The shift here is psychological. You don't go somewhere anymore. You arrive, and the world adjusts to you. The yacht is already waiting when you land. Your crew has provisioned it for the week. The chef has planned every meal. Your preferred wine is stocked. The tender is fueled. The jet skis are ready. You board, and the experience begins the moment your foot touches the deck. No check-in, no concierge, no shared anything. A $3,000 per night hotel suite in Positano is extraordinary. But it's shared infrastructure, shared pool, shared beach, shared restaurant, shared sunset. A 60-meter yacht anchored in the same bay is entirely yours. The water is yours. The schedule is yours. The silence is yours. Once someone experiences that, the idea of checking into a 5-star resort and sharing it with strangers becomes surprisingly difficult to accept again. Who's at this level? The industrial billionaire whose name you would not recognize, but whose company you have used. He doesn't post. He doesn't attend yacht shows. He has owned 3 yachts, each larger than the last. The captain has been with him for 9 years. His favorite thing about the yacht is not the pool or the beach club. It's Tuesday morning at anchor in a bay in Turkey, with no other boats in sight, eating breakfast on the aft deck with his wife, in total silence. He built a $100 million yacht for that silence, and he would tell you it was worth every dollar. At this level, you're no longer paying for comfort. You're paying for a world that rearranges itself around you. Level 4, 70 to 90 meters. This is no longer ownership. This is a private company that exists to serve one person. New build pricing runs $100 to $200 million. Crew of 25 to 35. Running costs of $8 to $15 million per year. A helicopter pad becomes standard, helicopter included, or a dedicated budget for on-demand rotary service at every port of call. The yacht now has a full-time operations manager on shore coordinating logistics, travel schedules, port clearances, customs documentation, and provisioning across multiple countries simultaneously. The owner's office receives quarterly operational reports the way a CEO receives board updates. There is a chain of command, there are departments, there is HR. At this size, the owner's experience is entirely insulated from the machinery that makes it possible. You don't plan, you don't coordinate, you don't request, you arrive. Every transition is invisible. The tender takes you to shore. The car is waiting at the marina. The restaurant has your table. The museum has arranged a private viewing. None of this is improvised. None of this is requested in the moment. It's anticipated by a team that has been managing the owner's preferences for years and has learned to act before being asked. Who commissions this? Not who you'd expect. Not the loudest billionaire in the room. Usually the quietest. The one who left the operating role 5 years ago. Sits on 2 boards and spends 7 months a year on the water because he realized the yacht is the only place where the phone doesn't ring unless he wants it to. His estate planner structured the yacht under a trust in a jurisdiction you have never heard of. His kids use it in August. He uses it the rest of the year. The captain has authority to decline charter requests because the owner prefers that no one else sleeps in his bed. Ever. The build process changes fundamentally at this level. You're no longer selecting from a builder's range. You're commissioning. Custom naval architecture. Bespoke interior design by firms that normally work on landmark hotels. Construction timelines of 3 to 5 years. The yacht has a signature. And that signature says more about the owner than any conversation ever could. Level 5, 90 to 120 meters. At this level, the yacht is no longer a vessel. It's a private estate that decides where to be. New build pricing runs $200 to $400 million. Crew of 40 to 55. Running costs of $15 to $25 million per year. These are full custom builds. Everyone is unique. Construction takes 4 to 6 years at yards like Lursen, Oshanko, or Feedship. The interior square footage rivals a mid-sized mansion. We're no longer talking about jacuzzis. We're talking about swimming pools, full spa facilities with treatment rooms, professional gyms, multiple kitchens, one for the owner's party, one for crew. Staff quarters that would qualify as apartments in most European cities. Climate-controlled wine cellars. Some carry submarines in dedicated launch bays. The 107-meter Ulysses carries a custom exploration tender inside its hull. A vessel large enough to function as a yacht in its own right, stored inside a larger yacht. The 156-meter Dilbar, before its seizure, reportedly had the largest swimming pool ever installed on a yacht. An estimated 180 cubic meters of water, maintained at temperature, on a moving vessel crossing open ocean. Engineering that borders on absurd, executed because the owner wanted it and the budget allowed it. At this level, the yacht doesn't dock at normal marinas. It anchors offshore because most ports physically cannot accommodate it. Guests arrive by tender, by helicopter, or by smaller vessel. Dinner is on the yacht. Entertainment is on the yacht. Meetings are on the yacht. The world comes to the vessel, not the other way around. The yacht is not a way to visit places. The yacht is the place. Everything else orbits it. Level 6. 120 to 160 meters. This is where superyachts stop being yachts and start functioning as sovereign infrastructure. Fewer than 30 vessels this size exist in the world. New build pricing runs $400 million to $700 million, crew of 55 to 80, running costs north of $25 million per year, and in several documented cases, double that. At this size, the vessel carries systems normally reserved for commercial ships or small military craft. Industrial-grade water desalination, independent power generation, capable of sustaining operations for weeks without port access, medical facilities with surgical capability, cold storage for months of provisions. The yacht is a self-contained ecosystem that could, if required, operate independently for extended periods without ever making landfall. Some carry dedicated security teams operating military-grade surveillance and electronic countermeasure systems. The 162-meter Eclipse, built for Roman Abramovich, reportedly included armor plating on the owner's suite, a submarine, and an anti-paparazzi laser system designed to interfere with camera sensors aimed at the vessel. The 156-meter Dilbar, before its seizure by German authorities, required a crew of roughly 80 and had estimated running costs reported at up to $60 million per year. For context, that figure approaches the annual operating budget of some small national navies. Who operates at this level? You already know. You saw their yachts in the news in 2022, the names behind the seizure headlines. But also the names that never appeared in any headline because their vessels are flagged under entities so layered that no government has successfully traced them. The kind of wealth that doesn't just buy privacy, it engineers it. At this scale, the captain doesn't report to the owner. The captain reports to a management company that reports to a family office, that reports to a trust that was structured before the yacht was commissioned. There are more lawyers involved in operating this vessel than there are chefs. This is where yachting stops being recreation. It stops being lifestyle. It becomes a way of existing outside the structures that most people don't even realize they live inside. Level 7. The final level, 160 meters and above. The mega yacht category that barely exists. Fewer than 10 vessels of this scale have ever been built for private ownership. The 180-meter Azam, the longest private yacht in the world. Estimated build cost $600 million. Constructed by Lursen in Bremen and delivered in 2013. Top speed over 30 knots, which is extraordinary for a vessel this size. Most commercial ships of comparable length cruise at half that. Powered by a combination of 2 gas turbines and 2 diesel engines driving 4 pump jets, delivering the kind of output normally associated with naval frigates. The Azam was designed not just for comfort, but for evasion. Built to outrun threats, not just absorb them. That single design choice tells you everything about the world the owner operates in. The 195-meter Orev Ocean, set to become the largest yacht by both length and gross tonnage upon delivery, was built as both a private vessel and a marine research institution. It carries laboratories, an auditorium, facilities for up to 54 researchers, and deep-sea exploration capability, including a submersible rated to 2,300 meters. Estimated cost over $500 million. It is simultaneously a personal yacht and a floating organization dedicated to ocean conservation. A vessel that blurs the line between private wealth and public mission in a way no other yacht at any level attempts. At this scale, the yacht is no longer a personal asset in any conventional sense. It functions as a private institution. Crew count approaches or exceeds 100. The logistics chain rivals a mid-size corporation. Provisioning, dry dock scheduling, diplomatic clearances, security coordination, and regulatory compliance across international waters require a permanent shore-based team running year-round, regardless of whether the owner is on board. No broker lists these, no catalog describes them, no yacht show displays them. Every vessel at this level is a custom commission that takes half a decade or longer, from initial naval architecture through final sea trial. The owner isn't buying a yacht. The owner is building a world. And when it's finished, it answers to no port, no country, and no schedule but its own. The superyacht industry started as a hobby for people who had already bought everything else. It became something different. At the bottom, it's a boat that costs more than a house. At the top, it's a country that floats. And somewhere between the $5 million Sunseeker and the $600 million Azam, the product stopped being the yacht. A guy at level 1 and a guy at level 7 are both doing the same thing. They're buying a version of the world where nobody else sets the rules. One's buying a weekend of it. The other is buying a lifetime. Every other industry sells you a product. The superyacht industry sells you the only thing money can actually build from scratch. A world with no one else in it. The yacht was never the point. The point is that nothing around you is fixed anymore. Not location, not schedule, not rules. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down how things actually work, not how the brochure describes them. See you in the next one.